Hi everyone, Vacha here from Recording Studio 9 and thanks for joining me again today. And in today's video, following up on series of videos on Behringer's Firepower FCA1616, today I'm going to test its line level inputs. If you are not aware, the FCA16 has 4 mic and line level inputs at the front with trim knobs or gain knobs, and it also has 4 line level inputs at the back. Now these 4 line level inputs at the back, they don't actually have any gain knobs. It's and no other options available. So they simply accept line level inputs. Now this is really great if you want to connect outboard gear like compressors or EQs or such items. It's really great in a sense that you hope that they do have balanced input. So the problem is that if you are using gain knobs and you want to send a stereo signal out into your outboard compressor and back in again, how do you make sure that you've got the same balanced level signal coming back? Now, I do have a couple of videos demonstrating how you can set your gain knobs to get the right signal level. Now, not having the gain knobs at the back, it means you don't have to worry about it to a certain degree. So in this video, I'm going to test if the line level inputs at the back are balanced so that you don't have to worry about it. And to do that, I do, as you can see, I do have wires connected, output 5 and 6 fitting directly into input 5 and 6. And later on, I'm also going to test inputs 7 and 8, sending a signal out, just a tone generated, and then measuring the coming input level to see if both left and right have the same value. So without any further delay, let's test the unit and put that to rest. So let's get things rolling. You can see on the screen, I've got the Behringer FCA16 on view, and you should be able to see the LEDs of the inputs and the outputs come up to give you an indication of what is happening. As you can see at the moment, the main volume is turned down, as it doesn't need to be really up as well, because we are just going to be sending the signal right at the output of 5 and 6 and receive it at input 5 and 6. At the moment, with the button in out position without the LED turned on, means the master volume control here only controls output 1 and 2. On the screen, I have a project in Studio One Professional, version 5. Very simple. I've got a track there, and at the track, I have insert of a tone generator, which is going to generate 440 hertz, and we're just going to turn it on and off at minus 12 dB. And I also have meter after that, so we can actually see the meter go up to 0, set at the scale of 12. That means minus 12 dB at 0 dB. And the signal is going out, you can see out there. Now, having a look at the I/O, how I have it all set up so you have an idea of what's happening. These are my inputs, and these are my outputs. So sub 2 is actually going to line 5 and 6, and sub 3 is 7 and 8. And then I have my normal inputs, inputs 1 and 2, just 3 and 4 together, 5 and 6 together, and 7 and 8 together. And the ones we're going to be looking at is 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 to test inputs 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And here you can see my inputs are 1 and 2, but it doesn't matter. And we are looking at, instead of normally going to the main output as our main mix bus, sending it to sub 2. So it's directly sending it out of the audio interface's output 5 and 6. And now that it's on, so let's have a look at the inputs. And here we have the inputs 5 and 6. At minus 12 dB, we are getting 19.5 and 19.9 dB feedback. So there's about 0.4 dB difference between left and right. And we are sending it directly, correctly, at minus 12 dB on each. And on the return VU, sometimes a bit hard to see because of the beautiful 3D animation on there on the VU meter, you can see that this one is a little bit less than -7 dB, where this one is -7 dB on the same scale of 12 dB. But the better indication obviously are these inputs we can see right there, more accurate reading. So let's just turn it off. Let it reset and turn it back on again. So we are sending -12 dB, but we are receiving -19.5 on the left and -19.9 on the right. So there is a little bit of discrepancy there, but we can work around that one. I'm just going to turn it off, and now I'm going to connect to the inputs 7 and 8 and see if we get the same result. Just so that you can see at the top right-hand corner the LEDs as well, which I forgot to turn the view on. Here they are. You can see the LEDs coming on and then off as well. So to test inputs 7 and 8, let's change, I've already changed the wires across. So when we turn it on, we should be able to see the signal coming to inputs line 7 and 8. Now line 7 and 8 are much closer, 19.7 and 19.6. So 0.1 dB of a difference of what's going out with what's coming in. Again, this is very, very close to the balance. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about as we're sending -12 dB that we're not receiving -12 dB. That's just the internal leveling. -19 is still perfectly fine when we are dealing with audio coming in and out. It doesn't necessarily mean that the inputs and the outputs have to be at the exact level. That is an ideal and perfect condition, which you might see in high-end audio interfaces. But for the FCA1616 at the budget range, it's still good. But the most important thing is how balanced the left and the right inputs are. Now next, I want to test the outputs 7 and 8 to see if the discrepancy is between the inputs or the outputs. Let's turn this off. And I'm just going to rewire, connecting output 7 and 8 to input 5 and 6. And then we do the same again to input 7 and 8. Okay, back. All the connection is done. So now I'm going to send it to sub 3, which is output 7 and 8. And we should see it at the inputs 5 and 6 as well. Same signal. Again, the inputs in 19.5 or 6 and 19.9. It's pretty much exactly the same what outputs 5 and 6 gave us. So I say the outputs are pretty much balanced, or that's the outputs going, and the inputs is exactly the same for inputs 5 and 6. So let's try inputs now 7 and 8. Okay, let's turn it on for 7 and 8. 7, 8 output, 7, 8 coming back in. Right, as I was doing my final test of testing output 7 and 8 into input 7 and 8, for some reason my left channel stopped working. And I'm wondering what happened. I couldn't see anything, I couldn't work it out. And then I unplugged the cable. Yes, the tip is missing. It somehow broke inside the unit. And was wondering why it wasn't working. I mean, these are supposed to be quality cables and leads, but as you can see, it's unbelievable. This is the first time it's ever happened to me. So watch out with those sort of things. And it's broken inside. Now I have to take the covers off and access the plug and take it out. And yeah, well. Anyway, my final thoughts on this experiment. Well, I hope this experiment helped you out and put your mind to rest. We know that there's only a few point over dBs, zero point 0.4 dB at maximum, a difference between the left and the right, which is quite fine to a certain degree. You can certainly adjust that with the input trim on the input on the way in, so to balance it out if you really needed to. But otherwise, in a music content, that shouldn't make much difference. But if you're really particular about it, now you know it's different. And if you have this unit, obviously your unit might be a little bit different, so you can experiment and use the same method that I tested to see how much difference there is, and then putting in a trim control at the input to adjust that will fix it without any issues. And of course, as far as this issue problem, this is actually going into the bin now. A new one I've got plenty of. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, make sure you give me the thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great time making music. Cheerio. Yep, got it out.